The University of South Africa Vice-Chancellor, Professor Puleng Lenkabula says while the institutions face governance challenges, there is so much to celebrate under her leadership. Well, the university marks 150 years of its existence, and you saw that celebration yesterday. The celebrations are, however, overshadowed by the damning report by an independent assessor into the affairs of the University of UNISA. Well, Newzroom Afrika's Ziyanda Ngcobo is standing by with this exclusive discussion with the Vice-Chancellor. And Ziyanda Ngcobo, good morning to you. The VC at pains to explain yesterday that, yes, there are problems, but she is the reason that that institution has got to hold its head up high because she is the fixer. Well, she's been accused of corruption, might I say. How is she going to respond to these claims, given that the Minister of Higher Education has an independent assessor's report that he is yet to release? What if that report is damning on her?
He's got that independent assessor's report, which you'll know made damning findings. Key amongst them is that, one, this entire university must be placed under administration. I don't recall a time when we've seen such happening here at UNISA. But two, that the entire management be fired. And that's a very serious thing to have come out of that Musia report. And over and above that, there was an interministerial task team that was put together by the Higher Education Minister Blade Nzimande. So let's bring in Vice-Chancellor Puleng Lenkabula. A very good morning to you and welcome to Newzroom Afrika. It's a pleasure to be in your company today, especially because we have not heard you in particular say whether or not, firstly, do you believe in the legitimacy of this report, which basically says you're incompetent and that you and your management team must be fired, and this institution that you are currently leading be placed under administration?
Thank you very much for asking me the questions. I want to first state that the independent assessor report is an outcome of the Department of Higher Education and the Minister of Science and Technology report. It was commissioned by the report, by the minister. And therefore, we understand it as part of the legislative mechanisms entailed in the Higher Education Act about assessing the administrative and governance systems of the university. The University of South Africa is not the first university to go through assessment, that formal assessment. I want to speak for myself and for the management team. We looked into the report. We understand that it only came with one good outcome around the university, the question of sustainability. It posits the fact that the University of South Africa leadership is not competent. I think this is an aspersion, and this is quite disrespectful to the management of the university, given that they have expertise, they work hard, and all the indicators of the Council of Higher Education, which is a statutory institution in the country that evaluates the quality of teaching and learning in the university, its governance systems, its the assessment practices, but also its research and innovation. That report is out, the Council of Higher Education. It's very important for media, for people of goodwill, for students and scholars to really analyze the formal assessments. The report of the independent assessor does not come or make similar outcomes as this assessment, which is highly rigorous, that allows the staff of the university, the students to engage and to giving feedback. And therefore, I do not hold the report as evident to the reality of UNISA, precisely because that Council of Higher Education report says the quality of teaching at UNISA is comparable and best amongst others. The second aspect, it says the sustainability of the university is intact. Yes, there are challenges at UNISA. Yes, there are challenges around student support, which we have put our hands on deck to dealing with. Yes, there are challenges of technologies, as there have been in almost all the sectors of society, where sometimes the hackers and others, and there are many banks have been affected in the country, others have been affected. We constantly put mechanisms to ensure that these technological offerings or digital systems are up to date and are comparable to the best that universities or even the large or complex institutions are doing. And I think the independent assessor came with sweeping statements that cannot be substantiated. And I'm just giving you an example of the Council of Higher Education report, which is a statutory function that brings a different outcome from the Musia report.
You've used the words disrespect, and I think that's quite a very telling thing, that you feel that that report has shown a lot of disrespect towards you. But I want to flip it the other side.
And not just me. It's disrespect also to the academics at the University of South Africa, many of whom are rated A, B, or C by the National
You can be a good academic,
Foundation.
but you may not be a good administrator.
No.
And I mean, that's one of the things that the report talks about. It talks about financial irregularities. It talks about a lack of respect for due process. And some have even lodged allegations towards you, VC Lenkabula, to say that under your reign, there's been intimidation, there's been bullying at the institution, the systems within this institution are no longer followed. We just saw that report on Sunday in the Sunday Times about papers and scripts not being marked, and yet you're celebrating 150 years. So these systems, are they not working anymore?
Yes, we have to celebrate 150 years, as I stated. We have to celebrate the successes that this university has made. Under my leadership, UNISA has become number 7 and 8 in the rankings. You should look at the Times Higher Education rankings. You should look at the Department of Higher Education rankings. We are number 8 in the publications. We're not falling apart, as the report is. Why would you take a number 8 or number 7 university and say it's collapsing? The processes of the university are very clear. There's no bullying. When people do not want to do the work that they have been hired to do, it's my responsibility as the manager and MENCOM responsibility to ensure that people do their work and the work that they are paid for, and by the taxes of the rich and the poor in this country. We're not going to apologize for holding people accountable to their work. That's what they have been hired to do within the university. Whether you're in organized labor or you're not in organized labor, if you are an employee of the university, even myself, I have to be held accountable. I have to do my work. I have to follow processes. There are policies and laws of the country that have to be followed in a formal workspace like this. And when we hold people accountable and they do not want to be held accountable, we have to act. And consequences actions is part of the Labor Relations Act or Labor Relations System that this country has established through the Labor Relations Act, so that we address matters around relationships between employers and employees. And that is what we follow. If people are going to be coming to the university, undermining its policies, not serving the students, creating an environment of learning and teaching and research that is not optimizing the value proposition of this university, the management has the responsibility to doing so. So there's no bullying in this university. We engage. We have statutory systems that allow us, if there are complaints, for people to table them so that we deal with them. We have an ombuds office that accepts complaints from students. We have systems of finance when there is non-compliance that we act on it. And I've acted on non-compliance. There are people who have been terminated precisely because they did not follow the processes of the university. Some of them are lawyers that are representing their colleagues who are feeling more superior than any other person in the workplace. It's my duty, and it's the fiduciary duty of any accounting officer to ensure that
so the
when
things that have
people
been said about you,
yes.
are you saying that it's got nothing to do with your credibility and your legitimacy as a Vice-Chancellor? And we'll get to that report about refurbishments at your home. But
that's fine.
Yesterday, you intimated during a short interview that I did with you during the celebrations that there is a small group within this institution that is undermining the very systems that you and I are speaking of. And you even went as far as saying that as a black woman, you are not the first VC to come under attack. You use the example of former UCT VC, Mamokgethi Phakeng, and others at TUT and other institutions. I mean, some could argue that you're just using that as an excuse.
No, I'm not here because I'm a woman. I'm here because I'm an academic. I have led institutions of higher learning, as I've led institutions that are non-governmental, but also that are profit centers within this country, outside this country. I've worked at the University of Witwatersrand. I've worked at the University of the Free State. I've worked at the University of Toronto. I've worked for transnational organizations where I represented the continent. So I did not come to this university without due executive processes or executive expertise that this report claims. It claims I have six years of management practice. What happens to the work that I did for the African continent, based in Geneva, for the country and the continent? What happened to the work that I did at the Council for the Development of Social Sciences Research, where I worked as the executive for governance, assisting the think tanks, African think tanks, research think tanks, to doing their work? These are the issues that media must always, at all times, find out whether these things are corroborated by evidence. So it's very important that for us as women, we do not give our facts on account of being women. It's on account of being a leader. But also to get into the social analysis. As a woman in the media, you understand the representations of women, the caricaturing of women, the belittling of women. Why? I asked you the question yesterday. Why is it important? Why is it pivotal for men and women to ask me about curtains as a woman leader? Do they ask men leaders or vice-chancellors about curtains?
But those curtains cost about 285,000.
Do they ask? True? Did I order curtains?
They said that you demanded them. You wanted these upgrades to your home.
No,
and that's also part of the malfeasance that the Mosia report had actually found.
I would hesitate.
That's what the report said.
I would hesitate to make a statement like that by yourself or even those newspapers, because I did not initiate the renovations of Clockrin House. The initiative of the renovations of the Clockrin House was done by the former Vice-Chancellor, Professor Makanya, who still lived in the house, at the University House, when I was already a Vice-Chancellor here. Go and ask him that question about the renovations. Why did he make the motivation around the renovations? I did not even live in that house that I'm being accused for refurbishing or for the renovation. So speak on fact, not on aspersions or what you read on the newspaper. The formal documentation of the university and our submission to the Minister of Higher Education gives the formal account of Clockrin, of curtains, of hoovers and whatever, precisely because I am being presented as this little black woman who does not know what to do about the leadership of the university. You are reducing my leadership to curtains. Why don't you talk about the fact that I found this university with 6 billion reserves and I've doubled those to 15.8 billion. Who in this country, a woman or male leader in the university sector, has created such an equitable, sustainable resourcing of the university system? Yes, there are problems in this university. Yes, I'm holding people accountable, as the management team is holding people accountable. Yes, we report to the police, the South African police services, when there are cases
Yes.
of corruption, and we have done so. So I'm not certain what this corruption you're talking about and what this lack of sustainability or nominal management practice or style. Because I said to evaluate a university, there are 5 criteria that you must use at least to evaluate. Are its governance systems intact? Yes, the governance systems of UNISA are intact. The only challenge, as I told you, is that we don't have a Student Services Council, which when I came here 6 months into my tenure, I had already said there is a lag in the governance systems of the university, that we don't have a Student Services Council. There is an institutional forum. There's a Senate, it's functional. There's a council, it's functional. These are all components of what constitutes a governance architecture of a university. That's available. That's there. We may have contestations around, are the people the right people? It depends on who you are.
Yeah.
You may say...
Who do you think these attacks are coming from, VC, in the interest of time? And then we'll talk about the actual report and what you want to see going forward. Who is responsible for it?
I'm not going to say,
because now it would seem that you are on the back foot. So you've outlined what you have done in your tenure. You've outlined what factors would constitute the health of such an institution. And you've also outlined that you find the reports by the independent assessor to be disrespectful. So I'm saying you have clearly said that you are under attack. Why and from who?
No, you should ask who has interest at the University of South Africa, and why do they deem it important at this time to come and say the university is not functional? The ministerial task team on UNISA was commissioned before my appointment as a principal and vice-chancellor in this university. Why should I be held accountable for matters that the independent assessor himself states are legacy and historical matters that predate my tenure? Why would I be accountable for an independent assessor who says when I hold accountable organized labor that I'm neutralizing it instead of looking at whether the work that we were doing followed the requisites for the university governance system? Why would I be appreciative of an independent assessor who says I should expose myself to a process that council has not approved? Why would I go to Bowman and Gilfillan and do their investigation, which I did not know as an accounting officer of this institution who had commissioned it? In this institution, we follow the law, we follow the policies of the university, and we follow the charter. Whether people like it or not, we will do so because it's the right thing, the ethical thing, and the legal thing to do. Wherein there are stakeholder relations that have to be managed because there could have been a festering of relationship within the university. That's an area that we're working in. For instance, you're telling me about a publication of things that have not been marked. You're not asking me, the person who put it in the public, what did he do as the custodian of the assessment practices, of examinations, of assignments? Why don't you ask me, why is he placed on suspension? These are the questions that I expect the media, having read, analyzed, interrogated, and engaged on these factors, would be able to raise. Unfortunately, my sense is that universities such as South Africa, WITS, Rhodes, and TUT, that have majority of the training of journalists, whether in print or in audio, visual, or textual, we need to engage. What are the ethical issues that we need to report about? And how do we engage with fact, with aspersions, with gossip, and with reality? Because I feel I'm being lynched on aspersions. I'm saying, let me send you to Council of Higher Education. Go and get the report around the assessment of UNISA for 2021 and 2022. Look at our audit outcome, because these are formal processes that evaluate our management, our governance, our finances, our teaching and learning. And they give you the picture of the university.
So are you going to take this report on review? I know there was a discussion. Is there a confirmation on that yet?
I'm not authorized to engage on anything in that regard. That is the purview of council. But I know in my own individual responsibility with the rights that this country accords when we are presented in ways that we don't see ourselves in them. We have the rights in law to act. And in my actions as the accounting officer, I've also sent a response to the Minister of Higher Education and the Department of Education to really speak to the method of the report, to really speak to its almost anti-intellectual posture, because it says, I heard, I saw. Where are the facts? Why are we going to be lynched on the basis of what we heard? Why should we not use the evidence, the reports, the experiences that are before us? Yes, the students at UNISA, in the past, the students at UNISA were maybe working people like you who have technologies, who have devices, or who have an office. The students at UNISA today is a confluence of working people, but also unemployed and underemployed students. Some of them directly from matric. What do we do to help them? To ease into the learning environment where self-management is pivotal. We assist them with devices. We assist them with data for them not to be marginalized from their digital systems. We also make our study centers available. And we do so because we want them to succeed.
Thank you so much, Vice-Chancellor. That's Puleng Lenkabula. She is she's the principal, I should say, here at the University of South Africa. Lots to talk about that scathing independent assessors report, which she says is basically based on conjecture and that she is currently being lynched for. And that's how we wrap up our interview here in the capital.